a quick introduction to DevOps, because I sometimes think there's a bit of confusion as to where it came from. And I'll start this story with Scrum, because this is where DevOps started. Back in 2008, a chap named Patrick Dubois was in a Scrum team and was really struggling because, as we know, the delight of Scrum is that we can quickly go through a backlog, and at the end of a sprint, we can pop out a new product release, a usable product release now in the latest Scrum guide. Okay, and that's so good. And everyone loves that so much that we often spin up other Scrum teams. And soon enough, they start producing products in a similar cadence. And before we know it, we're in this situation. We have lots of Scrum outputs, lots of product increments released, and we hit a buffer of a release cycle. Okay, so the typical one involves the steps of preparation, integration, release, build and package, deployment test, functional, product release. But the result is you have a product owner or a customer at the other end saying, "Where's my product? Where is it? We've done this great Scrum stuff, but suddenly I'm stuck." And this is the problem that Patrick Dubois had, which is why he coined the approach and developed the approach we call DevOps, of bringing development and operations together. Okay, and this is now basically answered the question, what can we improve about this process? And it spawned a whole load of tools that give us continuous integration, continuous deployment, test automation, and continuous delivery, so that we can really pump these products out to customers in the most convenient and efficient way possible. Now, the benefits of that to everyone are pretty well known. There are technical benefits, less complexity, faster resolution of problems, business benefits, faster delivery of features, more stable operating environments, and less time on fix and maintain, more time on innovation. And as with Scrum, DevOps is this extension, and we generally have happier, more productive teams and better employee engagement. Some of those numbers on the slide are for those of you that are number driven rather than word driven, because these do translate into real numbers as well. Okay, so before we get into the 9 management attributes, I want to reference first the 6 DevOps principles that are from the DevOps Agile Skills Association, but these underpin the DevOps culture of any organization. Now, I've got these. I think this can be easily seen on screen, but I've actually got these in more sort of zoomed in versions, but I'll avoid that for now. Because just quickly, I just want to highlight that these principles are being customer-centric in our actions. We really want to engage customers early and get regular good feedback loops. Create with the end in mind. So we don't organize ourselves around functions or roles, but we do think about organizations that organize around products and services. DevOps teams also take end-to-end responsibility. A good practice in DevOps is a product team that takes it from inception all the way through to operation and maintenance and supports it through its life cycle. But to do that, they've got to be cross-functional and autonomous. So they've got to have a balanced set of skills. Now, one of the benefits of that is often these teams can then have good scope for continuous improvement. We build a culture of minimizing waste, optimizing for speed, and generally improve not only our delivery, but also the products and services that we deliver as well. And one of the outputs of that culture is automation. Now, the principle as stated here is automate everything you can. In reality, we automate things that are appropriate because actually there can be a big rush to automate everything. All the tools are there now. Robotic process automation, continuous delivery, the plethora of tools is amazing. They can help us achieve this, but we should only do things that are appropriate, but with a good focus on what we can automate. So just skip through these slides because these are the zoomed in ones. So now to the crux of the talk, the 9 key attributes of DevOps managers. Now, my source for this part of the talk is really this book, Accelerate. It was published in 2018 and is based on research. If you read it, it's a very data-heavy book because it's founded on research and of many thousands of organizations that fed into the DevOps Research Association, as it was formed back then. This really is a seminal book. I've actually used it so many times when I'm talking to teams, coaching teams in DevOps. It's a great resource I've referred to often. So it's much of what I'm talking about is contained in this book. Now, what it highlights is these 9 key DevOps management attributes. These are them all on one slide. I am going to go into each of them in detail. But is there anything here on this screen that speaks to you loudly? What's one of these attributes that means the most to you as you look at it?
I'll go for it, Darryl.
I think thank you, Paul.
I think for me, it would be building trust with the teams. That's one that shouts up most for me.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say the same thing because that leads to everything else, which is here, and then if they have trust, it becomes easier to do all the rest of the thing mentioned here. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Behind this, of course, is this notion of psychological safety, teams feeling safe and trustworthy environment so that they can challenge and they can pursue the things that these attributes are calling for. Okay, let's go into to these in a bit more detail. You'll see from the previous slide that these are all the attributes are correlated through 3 main groupings with good delivery performance. So cross-functional collaboration, a climate for learning, and effective tools and monitoring. And what I'm going to do now is show you some examples of how we've worked with teams to deliver just these things and the effects they've had. So in terms of cross-functional collaboration, this example here, we actually brought a digital security department together. This is one of my clients, and who actually at that moment, in those days of bringing people together in a room, we flew people in from across the world to come together and share and collaborate. The effect of this was basically a process of the teams understanding that they had a shared mission and goal, and by coming together and through a structured set of sessions, we highlighted how they needed each other. They were codependent. And in terms of the second principle there, encouraging workers to move between departments and teams, we actually saw this happen during these days we had. As teams began to realize that they were dependent upon each other, individuals would actually move from table to table, and we'd have open discussions about where they would best sit. Well, in turn, it would highlight the need for collaborative work. And these sessions were not using anything complicated. We were using things like team canvases, like radar charts to highlight skills and values, and some really basic tools, but they were all just effective about bringing people together, creating an environment where trust can develop, where openness can develop, and teams can communicate and collaborate. And for me, this is at the heart of all these manifestos that exist. We talk about in Scrum or Agile values, valuing individuals and interactions over processes and tools. Just this open space type event helped that culture to foster. Okay. Second grouping of attributes is this creating a climate of learning. And in another series of events, and in this example, I've got some pictures here. Actually, what I love about this picture, especially the one at the top, is the leader with the start finishing and stop starting t-shirt on. He's the one who I was coaching that set up this event, and he got this t-shirt printed. He actually got it the wrong way round, which is my nudge to him all the time. But in fact, he took one of my stock coaching phrases and put it on a t-shirt. I thought it was a great mandate, and also encouraged his team to learn and share. And so there was so a great deal of success in this. One of the things that came out very clearly was the team openly talking about anxiety and stress in their workplace. And I don't know of many teams that actually openly discuss these things. But when you build a culture of learning, of sharing, of treating failures as opportunities, and creating a culture where it's safe to fail, you'll be surprised at the kind of communication and discussion that flows from that. So yeah, encourage your leaders, your managers, to create these spaces, and enable us to learn and to grow. And finally, I want to talk about the effective use of tools. The two principles are here, letting the teams choose their tools and make monitoring both a priority, but also effective. Now, in the example at the top here on this slide, I'm showing a dashboard that was created in Power BI using Azure DevOps as well, to present to teams and leadership a really good view of what was happening within their space. Now, this was not only your typical metrics or measures such as velocity or cycle time. Here we were bringing in some of the more key DevOps success metrics, which I'm going to talk about in a second, but also cross-team dependencies and risks, things like work item aging, and other indicators that would help teams understand what was happening within their environments. The second image here is the periodic table of DevOps tools. And if you didn't know this exists, I'm going to tell you where you can find it. But it's an absolutely golden resource for anyone looking to see how best to use the amazing array of DevOps tools that exist on the market now. Before we get there, I'm just going to quickly cut to these four key metrics for DevOps. in the book Accelerate, what was clear from the research was that the metrics that matter, that distinguish high performers from low performers, were these 4 key metrics. And I'm surprised when I talk to DevOps teams how many of them don't measure their performance on this basis. So deployment frequency is obviously one that we would see as valuable. But what about the lead time for changes? How long does it take for a change you've requested to be pushed through the release cycle? What's your mean time to restore, the MTTR, mean time to restore? In many organizations, I've seen it where it can be weeks or even months, depending upon the state of the infrastructure and the platforms. But in the high-performing organizations, they can get this down to less than an hour. And that's all down to the principles that we spoke about at the front in terms of automation, continuous improvement, and a real connection to customers, understanding what people need. Change failure rate is not so variable, but is definitely significant in relation to high and medium performers, much lower in those performance categories, and sneaking up quite much higher to 30 to 45% plus in lower performers. Okay, and then just in relation to the periodic table of DevOps, this the source for this is digital AI, digital.ai. This was originally created by an organization called Expleo Labs, but Digital AI purchased this from them. In fact, I think they purchased Expleo Labs and got this thrown in. But this is an interactive tool. It's been built by the DevOps community, global DevOps community, and is updated regularly. So it's kept fresh in terms of what are the popular and reliable tools in this space. And I recommend it because I've actually used it. I've actually built, they've got a good pipeline builder tool as part of this. And I've actually architected and built pipelines using this as the basis for my design. And when I tell you I'm not a developer, when I tell you I've got no technical skills about building these DevOps pipelines, you may be surprised when I tell you this story, but it's true. Even as a manager, I'm able to help teams articulate what they need and give them these tools to help them decide what they need to use to then build good, well-functioning DevOps platforms and pipelines. Okay. So, in summary, these are the key attributes. I've tried my best to illustrate how many of them can be brought to life and put into action just through bringing teams together and by building a culture of collaboration to help focus on that first one, the one you highlighted, building trust and psychological safety. The others that I think are essential for me are the creating a training budget and supporting, not only supporting but promoting it, encouraging teams to get after training and skill development. That's one of the most important ones. Now you've listened to my examples, are there any others that stand out to you? Let me ask another question. Are there any that you're going to take into your workplace tomorrow and have a discussion about with a colleague?
I wouldn't say I'm going to take them in tomorrow, but the monitoring and priority. I'm working with the teams at the moment in terms of their metric side of things, and yeah, I just made some notes about what you were saying in that space. On the KPIs, or well, not KPIs, that's a wrong, definitely the wrong term to be using, but the metrics for it.
Yeah, certainly focusing on the metrics that are, let's say, proven through research to be the most the critical ones. I've found when talking to my customers that when I focus on, for example, mean time to restore, that normally triggers a much deeper conversation, because that's really a pain point. You know, when it goes wrong, when the systems crash, how quickly can you get back up and running? That's where DevOps really excels. And if you can encourage teams to focus around that, you know, we perform against the things we're measured on, right? So if we can encourage teams to focus on that, then we can often please our customers much more than we did before. Thank you, Paul. Okay. So just to summarize the key messages that I really wanted to convey from this talk was that technology transformation benefits from engaged and transformational leaders that not only support but amplify the work of their teams. Okay. Now that doesn't come naturally to a lot of leaders, and hence why coaching can be important in this space. But also businesses should see leadership development as a key part of their investment in technology and their products. And quite often it's not. It seems it's like a separate budget line, but actually it's a key component. And the final thing is, well, I think as we're all familiar with, empowered teams drive delivery performance.